We give thanks to Almighty Allah. We ask Him, the Most High, to continue to show His mercy on our leader, Prophet Muhammad, his household and companions and followers, till the day of accountability. Today, we are discussing an important topic which relates with neighborhood. In Islam, nothing is left untouched. And that's why emphasis is laid on the right of a neighbor. In fact, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam continuously lamenting on the right of neighbor, until when the companions thought that a neighbor is going to inherit his fellow neighbor after death. Because the emphasis was so clear, very, very clear, in all hours, in all times, neighbor. They thought revelation will come that a neighbor to inherit his fellow neighbor after death. Of course, that is not there. But the Quran is very categorical. In chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa, verses 36, Allah mentioned 10 categories of rights in that only one verse. Starting with the right of Allah, and that of the parents, and that of relatives. Added to that of the orphans, followed by those who are needy, those who are poor. Then Allah says, وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْجَارِ الْجُنُبِ وَالصَّاحِبِ بِالْجَنْبِ وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. Now Allah mentioned neighborhood in this verse, that a Muslim should discharge the right of his neighbor. And in Islam, neighbors are categorized into 3 categories, which means wherever you are, even if you are the only Muslim in a world of non-Muslims, you have neighbors. You must discharge their rights and their responsibilities. And if you are among the Muslims, also that right is emphasized. If you are in a multi-religious society, like the one we have today in Nigeria, then you should know that all those who are your neighbors have rights that you must discharge. For those who are your relatives, and they are Muslims, and they are your neighbor, they have 3 fundamental major rights you must discharge. And for those who are not your relatives, but they are Muslims, they are your neighbors, you must discharge those 2 rights. And believe me, even if you have no connectivity, either of blood, either of religion, either of reason, either of tribe, long as he is living very close to you, even if he is a non-Muslim, he has that right of being your neighbor, and you must discharge that responsibility and that right. You must assist him, you must advise him, you must not cause any harm. Don't collaborate with whatsoever to cheat or oppress your neighbor. Now, if this is done in our country, Nigeria, it will minimize crime. Because criminals too have a neighbor. And there is no way your neighbor will not know of your criminality. You can expose him. It's part of assisting him to be dealt with by the authorities. You are assisting him. But if he's in need of food, in need of necessity of life, his children could not pay school fees, his wife in a pain of labor, to assist him. He is human. By so doing, we are going to have a peaceful environment, a peaceful city, a peaceful local government, a peaceful state, in fact by extension, a peaceful nation, if neighbors are cordial. That was why Rasulullah says that he is not a believer. He is not a believer. He is not a believer 3 times. Then the companions of Rasulullah asked him, Who is this person Rasulullah sallallahu you are emphasizing on? He said, that person whose neighbor is not saved. His neighbor is not saved from his wickedness, from oppressing him, from collaborating with others to come and kidnap him, to come and do damages, come and do so many irrelevance with him. That person is not a believer. And he also said in a hadith that he will never enter Al-Jannah. That person that his neighbor is not saved from his hypocrisy, from his bad attitude and bad habits. And another hadith which is found is that whosoever believe in Allah and believe on the day of accountability, that person must honor his neighbor. And there are so many sayings about neighbor in Islam. Some said 40 houses from the west and the north and the south. Some said more than that. Some said less than that. But a neighbor is always your neighbor. You should try as much as possible to do good to your neighbor. Mark you after your death. Those who are going to make comments on you. Those who are first-class makers of comments, they are going to be your neighbors. And if you have a bad character, they will complain. Some may say, yes, after death, you don't talk about somebody who has died. So we are not going to talk. And they will not talk. And that is talking. But if their neighbor is good, they will continue to pray for him. In fact, they believe actually that the death, the bitterness of the death falls on them more because assistance will cease from coming to them. That's why we should try as much as we could, regardless of any color, any religion. Your neighbor should be able to speak well of you. And neighborhood is not only in your accommodations and your homes and houses. No. Your neighbor in your office, your neighbor in the market, your neighbor just on a journey, your neighbor that you come across each other in the bank, your neighbor in the mosque, you are seated. Don't harm your neighbor. Don't come to the mosque having a bad odor. You are harming your neighbor. Don't underrate him. Don't look down upon him. All those are rights you must know and discharge as neighbor. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to discharge the responsibility of neighborhood among ourselves. And in fact, we should tell others to do the same. At this juncture, we would like to congratulate the President, Commander-in-Chief of this nation, whom yesterday had victory in the court, Supreme Court for that matter. Mandate is now no shaking in the knowledge of women. We too also join those who are congratulating you, Mr. President. And in Islam, a leader should not be given such much of congratulations. He should come alongside with reminding him of responsibilities. Anybody who champions leadership of Nigeria, 200 million and above, that person should be sympathized with. And especially today, when there is a lot of insecurity, there are areas people cannot step into. Some are very few kilometers away from the capital cities of some states. People cannot go and farm on their farmlands. People are sleeping without what to eat. People are in abject poverty. The subsidy is biting very hard. Now, for you to emerge a president of a nation of this, in Islamic context, you have to tighten your belt. Those who are around you also should tighten their belts. Your cabinet should know the consequence is going to be a big one on the day of Qiyamah. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam summarizes it by saying, "Innaha amana, innaha amana, wa innaha nadamatun wa khizyun yawm al-qiyamah, illa man akhadhaha bihaqqiha wa adda alladhi alayhi fiha." It is a trust. Yes, leadership is a trust. It is amana. And that trust, if betrayed in whatsoever circumstance, on the day of Qiyamah is going to be a nadama, a regret. You know, there are some regrets that can be augmented. There is a regret that can never, in any way, be corrected. That is the regret of the day of Qiyamah. The Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it's a regret. Except for those who are bold, who are brave. They took the responsibility. They took the responsibility. And they were fair, they were just, they were modest. Those are the ones on the day of Qiyamah, Allah will congratulate them. That is real congratulation. Not the one of yesterday and so many days of our leaders. That is human. But those who are congratulated on the day of Qiyamah, they are going to be in the shade of Allah because they have done their best in serving humanity. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help the President and his cabinet and those who are leaders in this country to be able to discharge the duties and responsibilities. It's not only the President. Whosoever emerges a leader in this country, particularly Muslims, you shouldn't rejoice over. You should be more interested in discharging the rights and the responsibilities. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين ودمر أعداءنا أعداءك أعداء الدين. اللهم عليك بالكفرة والفجر والفسقة الذين يكيدون الإسلام كيدا. اللهم عليك بإسرائيل. اللهم عليك بإسرائيل وأعوانها. اللهم دمرهم. اللهم شتتهم. اللهم مزقهم. اللهم رد كيدهم في نهورهم. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد.